I'm going to give you an English pronunciation masterclass. The general idea here is to give you a really solid perspective on English pronunciation. Today, I'm going to share with you guys, you fine people, the first thing that you should be practicing right now, before anything. If you're not sure about the language, if you're still learning vocabulary, still working on your accent, there's really one thing that will help you and to narrow your focus. The first thing you need to be practicing, above all, is that first response to the question you know you're going to be asked. And this might be introducing yourself. It might be greeting somebody. When I speak Spanish, for example, I start off every time by saying the same kind of thing. ¿Qué onda? ¿Todo bien? ¿Qué sé? ¿Todo bien? It comes out Argentinian, and someone's like, pero where are you from? And people immediately think, he must be from here. She must be from here. They must have studied or learned here, especially if you're living in a foreign country. If not, it doesn't matter. But that pronunciation is the first thing that we hear. So the idea of answering a question that you know people are going to ask you. For example, where are you from? What do you do for work? Why do you speak English? Why are you learning English? Who are you? Right? You have to introduce yourself. What does it sound like? Right? What are the words that you use? And what does that actually sound like? What's the pronunciation? Those two factors, pronunciation and the words that you choose, that's gonna make a huge difference. Thank you, Ruben. Now I know what to focus on, Ruben. It sounds cheap. It sounds like you're cheating, but you're preparing. It's different. The Ben Franklin exercise is a technique, it's a strategy, it's a framework on how to analyze any sentence or word or utterance, speaking of a native speaker, even if it's just in text. This is gonna allow you to understand what's happening, not only within one word, but how the words connect in the sentence. Maybe you don't know what to study when you're thinking about, okay, I want to improve my pronunciation. What do I do to improve my pronunciation? I could just watch shows or I could listen to music. It doesn't really work that way. You can't just have it around and it just oh, that's working for me. You need to actively understand what's happening. What are your habits? What are the things that you actually say wrong or what needs to change? And what is the correct way? We're talking about three different aspects. The first one has to do with sounds. Individual sounds, or we call them phonemes in the business of linguistics. The smallest units of sound that we have are these phonemes, so T sound or a vowel sound. It's just vowels and consonants, that's all it is. The second one is actually something we call rhythm or stress. Maybe these are simple terms, rhythm and stress, but what this has to do with is where do you emphasize the syllables in the word and in the sentence, and where is the most important syllable, period. It's important to understand that there are rules, that there's a structure. You can even anticipate, can you hear me overdoing it? You can even anticipate where to put the stress. And if you can tell, there's some pattern to it. If you can't tell, there's some pattern to it. The third category of this list has to do with something called linking. Linking is the idea of connecting words together, pronouncing words in a sequence. Instead of hearing a word in isolation and another word and then a word, understanding that we don't talk in words, we talk in phrases. The last sound of a word connects to the first sound of the next word. We're always thinking about what's the connection? How do I move? And that's what helps us to pronounce the sentence natively and connected. It's not about speed, it's about connection. Let's get into it. A lot of people ask me if it's possible to sound like a native speaker. That's the sentence. There's so much going on in this sentence. It's crazy. Remember we talked about prescriptive and descriptive pronunciation in the past, where prescriptive is this overly pronounced words where it sounds really overdone and nobody speaks. And then you have the descriptive, which is a little bit more flowing, kind of how you hear people talk day to day. Talking about sounds first. What sounds stand out? The pronunciation of the O in lot, a lot. The O in English, we pronounce like an ah when it's stressed, most of the time. So a lot is not an exception. It's not an exception. And we also have this T between vowels. T between vowels sounds like Spanish R. So we say a lada, lada, and not la-da with an English D. Lada, a lada, or a lot of. Don't pronounce that as a T. And the same thing with native. The T between vowels is like a Spanish R. We call this a flap or a tap in linguistics. Another thing that we might notice about the phrase a lot of people is that you might not hear the letter F in the word of. A lot of people. It might happen just like a lot of people. That's definitely a common descriptive pronunciation. Dropping the F in the word of is something we do all the time. A lot of, and the reason why we do this in this particular situation is because the F comes before or another consonant. So you see a lot of people has a P after the of, you gotta drop that F. It's even easier to pronounce. A lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of time. But if I said a lot of animals, a lot of animals, I gotta link the F to the vowel. That's what linking is all about. A lot of animals, but a lot of people, going straight to the P instead of pronouncing the F. The parts that usually non-native speakers will mess up are the unstressed syllables. But this is a Ben Franklin exercise. You just went through your first Ben Franklin exercise. Congratulations. Feel proud, feel happy.